Oh my. Howdy roundabout, all you Shaggy Goose Egg Boys, and welcome to another prison scene of Al Pacino's that he has when he says, "Think about it."
Hi,
I'm Jake.
This opening's disgusting.
I'm Chris.
I'm Kyle.
Chris Kyle, the American Sniper. Hey, that's the one that Jason worked on.
And it is currently what month, guys?
Oh, October.
Yay!
Yeah, it's October. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's
Not
definitely,
yet.
It's definitely,
Not yet.
it's
But
definitely
almost.
not August 29th.
Shush.
Don't let them know. Dude, that would be hilarious if I actually did hit him.
And
man.
today we're doing Pacino-ween.
But
It's the start of Pacino-ween.
He made that up on the spot because we have not agreed on that side.
Yeah.
I know. Actually, I've been thinking about that for a while.
If the title
That's
of
hilarious.
the YouTube video has not told you yet, the movie that we are covering is
Shaun
Dawn
of the
of the
Sheep
Dead.
of the Dead. Shaun the Sheep of the Dead. That's Chris's joke. He likes that one.
I like that one. But it's Shaun of the Dead.
Chris. Every time he hears Shaun the Sheep of the Dead.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. Just thought that was funny. Also, I listened on some of the old ones, and apparently every time we hit the table, it was boom,
Yep.
boom, boom.
Yeah. Well, because you're shaking the.
I know.
Because you're shaking the entire thing.
Boom.
Now you could do that.
Oh,
That'll do
that's, see,
it
that's
too.
just annoying.
Or you could do.
Or you could do.
Oh no, it had
Or you could
coconut
do-
oil on it.
Hey, $10 if you get that one.
$10 because there's only one person who should. Oh well, a couple people, but they
Can
don't
you
listen.
cut that? I just got what you said.
No,
Nope.
it's fine.
Alright.
Anyway, Shaun the Sheep of the Dead. That's what we're doing. Both of you have not seen this all the way, correct?
Well,
No, we watched it last Halloween. Like I'm
Us
fairly
together?
sure. I'm fairly sure we watched it at Chris's place.
I've never seen this movie, like actually watched this movie, but I do remember as I was watching it, I remember I saw a small bit of it in passing when I was like 5 years old at like a relative's house, and it started my my fear of zombies. Like I was really, really scared of zombies.
That's funny because they're like nothing. In
Off
this
of
movie.
this fucking movie.
Yeah.
No, and actually, on that. So, number one, I have a pretty good, close relationship with this film because my mom loves this film, and specifically Simon Pegg. So, I have Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. They've been in my family since they came out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually what you watched was a family artifact, so...
Oh, okay.
And I had to stream it because I forgot to watch it. Anyway, but I think this is possibly one of the most realistic portrayals, at least as far as it comes to a response to a zombie attack.
Yeah.
Because, like, The Walking Dead, how it is, and, like, Planet Terror 2, basically, like, they're this unstoppable force. When in reality, I feel like they're not.
just undead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, think about it, because, like, it's like a parasite just using your motor functions to eat.
And they're
Yeah.
like this. How
Well,
do you
it's
not
like-
get away from...
It's like a human is only dangerous because they're able to like, you know, react to stimuli,
Right.
whereas like a zombie doesn't really react, and certainly not quick enough to be a threat. And they're only threats in their numbers,
Right.
which I'll actually talk about later because I think there's a really interesting historical connection to zombies and numbers. So just tune in next time.
Before we get to that, you know what time it is? Let the beat drop.
It's 3:52.
That's right.
We're
On
supposed to start
Pacino-ween.
Also, I think that we should have gotten ocean spray to drink instead, because it's made from cranberries. Zombie! Zombie! Zombie!
Alright, we're getting copyright.
Bay,
Copyright.
Oh, dang, now I do want to find my phone. Anyway, recap.
I didn't even touch you.
All right, so Shaun of the Dead, of the Sheep of the Dead, of the
On the wiki.
of the Winchester bar is where they're at.
Oh, there it is.
Shaun is with his friends and his girlfriend Liz. What the fuck are you doing? Am I not
Keep
doing
doing the
this?
recap.
Just continue.
No, I'm just gonna wait until.
No, just do the recap. We're on a time crunch, Chris. Don't worry. Do the recap. Do the recap.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until you guys are done.
Well, your time is gonna run out.
All right.
What are you doing, Kyle? What are you doing?
That's your problem.
What are you doing? I'm scared. Do the recap.
I'm gonna wait until everybody's seated.
They're at the Winchester, and it opens, and Simon Pegg's like, "Doi."
Yeah, he's just chilling at the bar, the Winchester they always go to, and he's with his girlfriend Liz, and her friends, and his best friend Ed. And she's talking about how she's just kind of, disappointed with it being the same old, and they always go to the Winchester. He doesn't really, take more of initiative in their relationship. They've been dating for 3 years. They just had their, 3rd-year anniversary last week. They still haven't done anything for it. And he's just kind of, a lazy, content, sort of a slobby man. And she's like, I don't hate your friend Ed, but I feel like Ed is kind of holding you back. Mm-hmm. And Ed's basically just like a grown-up man-child who just, smokes weed and plays video games all the time.
Weed every day.
And
oh shit.
So anyway, he's like, all right, you know what? I'll do better. I'll book a reservation to a restaurant and we'll have our belated 3rd-year anniversary dinner. And she's like, okay, cool. And so it's his responsibility to get all that figured out, all that, and then he goes to his apartment, and where we meet his other roommate besides Ed, Pete, who is basically the other spectrum of what Shaun should be. He's super...
I was right. Sorry, my cousins just found out what gender their twins were.
Yeah, and what were they?
Well, I'm not going to say it on air, but...
Oh, okay.
Surprise!
Well, then why did you fucking bring it up in the middle of a recap?
Why are you doing the recap?
Anyway,
that's the names.
Pete starts to talk to Shaun about Ed, the fact that he leaves the door open all the time, and
it's crazy. It's awesome.
He's a slob, and you need to get rid of him. And Shaun's like, "Oh, but I like having him around." And he's like, "All right, but Ed's gonna keep holding you back if he letting him." And he's like, "Nah, it's fine." So he goes to work, and he works at this dead end job, and he has to fill in as manager, and he gets kind of bullied by a 17-year-old who is happier with his life, and Shaun gets red on him. It's a pen in his shirt pocket that leaks red ink, and they're like, "Hey, you got red on you," and he was like, "Oh," and then he hears on the TV some news about some strange things going on with the people in the streets, and they're kind of starting to act a little droopy, a little irrational, and he's like, "Oh, okay," and so he goes back home, and there's some other things that happen. He gets a call from his mom. Oh, no. His stepdad walks into where he works.
Well, actually, his stepdad's just kind of there.
Yeah, he's there. And he's the guy from that one Matt Smith Doctor Who episode.
It's Bill Nighy. He was in Harry Potter.
He's a famous actor.
I've only ever seen him in that.
He was in Love Actually.
He was in About Time, Harry
About
Potter.
Time, yeah.
Okay, he's a great actor. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he also got arthritis in his hands, so it's kind of like this all the time.
Yeah. But anyway...
Which he does in this movie.
Yeah. Anyway...
Well, that's because he's a zombie.
His stepdad is at where he works, and he's like, he's not my dad, he's my stepdad.
He does that About Time, too.
I'm 29, and I still say that shit. And so, anyway, he talks to his stepdad, not dad, and his stepdad, not dad, says, "Hey, your mom, real mom, wants to have dinner with you tonight." And he's like, "Okay, I'll go buy flowers." And so he goes and buys flowers, and he goes back home, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I forgot to book the reservation." And then he tries to book the reservation, and they're all full, and he was like, "Oh shit, I have failed as a boyfriend, and then Liz calls, and then
I have failed you, Elizabeth.
and then
failed you.
he's like, oh well, they got, you know, they fucked it all up, and she's like, you didn't book the reservation, did you? And then he's like, no, I didn't. And then she hangs up because she's upset because he instead says, hey, let's just go to the Winchester. And then that's not what she wanted. That's what started this argument in the first place. And so he's like, oh shit, I fucked up. And so he goes over to her apartment and gives her the flowers that he was supposed to give to her mom, to his mom. And then she's like, all right, you're not taking any any kind of effort into changing, and if I stay with you, then I'm just gonna, you know, I don't want to be stuck like you are, so I gotta let you go.
She says what Bella says to Bella's father. You know, I'm just gonna be stuck here like Mom. I'm acting.
That's essentially what she says, but it's done with much better acting.
I'm still reeling about that movie, man. It's so good,
bro. It's
so good.
He didn't even push it. He just like.
It's so good.
He just does a
Twilight.
Yeah, I love it. It's awful. That's why it's so good.
And
it's just bad because it's bad.
And so this is what throws Shaun into the darkness. He goes and
side.
He goes back to the Winchester to have drinks with his buddy Ed, and Ed is trying to tell him, hey man, it's not like it's the end of the world. And then an undead hand slaps his hand on the door, and it's like, oh no, the zombies are happening. And so they stumble out of the bar.
They bumble because he doesn't have a girlfriend
and
anymore.
they're so drunk to realize that everybody around them are zombies at this point. And so they somehow safely make it home, and to where like they're making a bunch of noise and partying, and then Pete comes in, and then he's like, he blows up on Ed and also Shaun, and then he's like,
not literally though. That's
well. I mean, he blows up on Ed, and then he goes away, but then Ed says something, and then he goes to Shaun. He does blow up on Shaun a little bit because he's like,
but not literally.
Huh?
Not literally.
No, he doesn't literally blow up on Shaun.
Okay.
Otherwise, the Ready or Not scale would be complete.
All right. Well, he finally tells Shaun, he's like, you know, you're kind of a loser, and you don't need to be. You have potential to be better.
You kind of a wanker, man.
And if you really do not get rid of Ed, he's gonna bring you down. And then he's like, "Fuck you." And
don't bring me down.
And so, also, it's shown here that Pete has a bite on his hand.
Yes.
And so that's kind of
You're
promising.
taking a little peeksy daisy in here?
Y'all playing D&D?
Yeah. Say hi to the camera.
Who's the camera? Where?
Oh, sorry.
You're interrupting a very important segment.
Oh, you need to come over this way a little bit. You need to get on in here.
Oh, get in, actually in it? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Now look at the camera and wave.
Just bend down.
You gotta you see where the...
Yeah.
There he is. There's my
Nathaniel
guy.
Hawthorne, everybody.
Nathaniel Hawthorne, he wrote the Scarlet Letter.
Am I on the pod?
Yeah.
Nice.
Say something to the people.
Something to the people.
It's Shaun of the Dead.
What?
We're doing Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you want to pop in and say something later, too, you can.
Okay. What was that movie you said you wanted me to watch for the episode you wanted me to be
Oh,
on?
Evil Dead 2?
Okay. You gave me, like, some options.
Spoilers.
It might have been Evil Dead 2.
Okay. I'll have to watch that.
Okay, alright.
Spoilers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now they know our next film.
No, they don't.
Anyway,
They weren't listening.
Pete's bitten. They all go to sleep, and then Shaun wakes up, and he goes through his routine of getting stuff from the shop down the way, and everybody's like, a zombie, but he's still oblivious to it.
Yes.
And come back home, and Ed's like, there's a girl in the garden, and so they go to the garden. There's this zombie girl who tries to eat them, and so
I didn't look at it. Let me look at it.
The text isn't important, Chris. Stop trying to read it.
I do it. Oh. No, you.
What was...
That was me
Jared,
during consolation.
Can you put up what the picture was real quick? Okay, thanks. All right.
I'm gonna put
Anyway.
a picture of like an ugly old hag.
Anyway,
I'll put
so
up
they
a
find
picture.
two zombies in the they find two zombies in their backyard, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is real. There are actual zombies out here." And so they hear from the news that you have to kill them by destroying the head, and they're like, "Okay, since we're in Britain and
I think you mean Britain.
since we're in Britain and we can't own firearms." They just
It's true.
they just get a bunch of like they get out like Shaun's records, and this is really cool, but because it's like after you break up, you kind of like rework your personality. So that's kind of what this was.
I have never done that.
And he like throws out the albums and the music that's like outdated to him that he doesn't listen to, and trying to decapitate the zombies, but that doesn't work. And so they go out into the shed and they get a cricket bat or
Cricket. No, it's cricket.
they get a
Cricket.
cricket bat. It just looks
No,
like
cricket.
a paddle and a
Cricket
shovel.
bat.
And they beat the heads of the zombies, and they're like, all right, well, we know how to defend ourselves now. Let's go and save Liz. And so they make a plan, essentially, to go and go and get his mom and possibly kill his stepdad if he's infected, because he found out that he's been bitten. And
Honestly,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
they make a plan to go and grab his mom, kill his stepdad because he's supposedly infected, and go get Liz and her friends, and then go back to the Winchester and wait for all this to blow over. So they go and do that exactly. They take Pete's car because Pete is a zombie, and they just lock him in the bathroom. And so they go over to Mom's place, and they take the mom, but they don't kill Philip, his stepdad, because Philip is like says, no, leave me and save your mom. And Shaun's like, okay, maybe you are a good guy. And so he takes him in the car, and they go and find Liz, and then Liz is like, I don't want you here. And then he like tries to climb the window, and she's like, oh, stop climbing the window, I'll let you in. So he comes in and then he starts to show that he is taking more of an initiative, because he's like looking out for them now, and so she's like, okay, maybe he has changed. And so
okay, maybe he has changed.
and so they go into the car, and they drive off, and Philip starts to like die, and I feel like other stuff happened in between this.
From when they get...
Yeah, I mean, they fight off zombies and stuff, and that's pretty much
Well,
it.
yeah, I mean, like... There's brought up the stuff about him and, like,
Yeah.
his stepdad. And,
Well, yeah, but Philip gets bitten even more, and Shaun is actually trying to save him, but then Philip looks
Dies.
at Shaun, and he gives him this whole speech about, because like up until now, Shaun's just resented him, and Philip is like, I always like wanted to be the person to give you motivation, because I always like thought of you as my son. I didn't want you to give up just because your dad passed.
yeah.
And I'm sorry that it didn't come across the way that I wanted it to, but like, you have the potential to be a greater man. And that hit really hard. It's a really emotional scene, because
Yeah.
Shaun actually cries. Like, it stops being funny in that one moment.
Yeah.
And Philip
There's
dies.
two scenes that are like that in the
Yeah.
movie that hit real good.
Yeah, especially around the ending. But Philip dies, and they pull the car over, and he tries to get Philip out, but then Philip turns back into a zombie, and so they have to ditch the car, leave Philip there. He doesn't want to kill Philip, and so they run to the Winchester. And Daffs is one of Liz's friend who actually likes Liz, and at this point, like, it's a power struggle between him and Shaun, because Daffs now that Shaun is actually
Daft
trying
Punk.
to
Yeah.
now
Now
that Shaun is actually taking initiative, he's making Daffs look bad, because Daffs was always the more mature one.
Yeah.
And
is that the John Oliver looking bitch?
No, it's the Harry Potter looking bitch.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
same thing.
Daph's like smashes.
Fair enough.
They get cornered by a horde of zombies, and Shaun has a plan to just bring him around back and then them go in, but then Daph's like acts to the Winchester pub, and then Daph's acts irrationally and he smashes the window to the inside, and they're all like, dude, what the fuck? And so Shaun potentially like he runs the risk of sacrificing himself just so they can get inside. So he like dives into the horde of zombies, which if this was any other zombie movie, Shaun would have died.
Oh yeah.
Shaun would have died. He dives into the crowd of zombies and since
leads them out.
Yeah, and leads them out the other way. Gives them the slip, and they go into the Winchester. And while they're in the Winchester, Daphs is kind of talking about how like Shaun shouldn't be the leader even if he does come back because da 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 da. And Liz is like, you're a piece of shit. No, Shaun's better. And then Daphs throws some snacks at Liz, but then Shaun catches it with his hand. And Shaun's like, yeah, I'm alive,
What's
bitch.
that? On your left, Cap.
Shaun's alive, and so they stay the night there, and Shaun goes back to check like the breaker and the lights and everything, turn the lights on, and he notices that the zombies from earlier actually followed him to the back room. And so they're kind of pushing their way into the back, so it's only a matter of time, and they have to be super super quiet if they don't want to give themselves away. And so naturally, Ed turns on the arcade machine because he's bored and wants to play video games, and it pretty much draws the attention of the entire horde on like to the inside to the window, like they're beating on the window and everything, like they're about to die, and Shaun blows up on Ed now, and not literally, and he's like, everybody was right about you. You just make things worse. I shouldn't have been your friend. Da 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 da. And this
that was much earlier.
Huh?
That was much earlier.
Well, he does that like he does that outside right before they go into the Winchester, but then he does it again, and it's like way more harsh this time, and but Ed more agrees with him now because he's like, oh shit, we probably will die, and so they get the gun from down there and start shooting the zombies, and they're like, okay, we can probably defend ourselves, and then Shaun's mom starts coughing. And then she's like, hey, I'm bit, but I didn't want to tell you because I thought that you'd be angry.
I'm bitten?
And so, yeah, this is another super emotional moment.
She's from Britain.
I'm from Britain. And so, so Shaun has to watch his mother die. And this tears him up. And Liz watches this, and she's like, shit, he's been through a hell of a lot. And Daphs immediately is like, okay, we gotta kill her. Gotta kill your mom.
Yeah.
Gotta shoot her. And that turns into a whole like standoff between everybody because they're like, hey, we need to listen to Shaun, not Daphs, because Daphs is like just scared shitless and acting out of fear. And so
which results in Shaun eventually having to shoot his own mom, and then what's his name, Daphs, getting the gun from Shaun,
trying to shoot him,
and then he does shoot him.
Well,
there was nothing in the chamber.
Well,
not even a secret.
Daphs says something like mean right after he shoots his mom, and then Shaun punches Daphs.
Yeah.
And out of that reaction, Daphs takes the gun and pulls the trigger.
Yeah, he shoots.
But the bullets are out. And everybody's
the bullets
like,
are out.
Yeah, the shells are...
The chamber is empty.
The chamber's empty.
Secrets.
And
there's no secrets.
And everybody's like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck, Daphs?
And then he's just like, all right, I'm leaving. And then he just goes out.
No, he doesn't. He like...
Yeah, he pretty much
Yeah,
knows.
he does. Well, it's revealed.
Okay,
it's revealed that he likes Liz.
Oh,
yeah.
Also,
no, his girlfriend basically like has to persuade him not to leave, and says like, I know that you like Liz and all of this, like just stay here, don't cause any more trouble. And he's like, okay, but now that he's standing right in front of the window, the zombies take him and rip him apart. And so she takes his leg and she runs out of the front door, which makes no sense.
I like to think that she survived and killed every single zombie.
I know exactly what happened because on the DVD there are there's like really cool there's like a really cool animatic that the actors voice over to tell it's called plot holes, and they basically tell you what happened in certain scenes.
Did she survive?
Yeah, she did.
Really?
She had to climb up a tree, and she stayed there for 3 days and only survived off of the remains of Daph's leg.
Oh my god, that's awful.
And then eventually the horde went away, and then she like climbed down and just went home.
How did she stay there for 3 days if the military came in that night?
She said something about that, but I forgot what it was. But
anyways, yeah.
So now...
Oh, spoiler!
So the horde is like, they've breached the bar at this point, and Ed gets bitten trying to fight him off. He gets bitten
Which
3 times.
A surprise.
Also, Pete comes in. He followed him this whole way.
Yeah.
And then, and Ed, Shaun has a really cool line right before he shoots Pete. He's like, I said leave him alone. Mm-hmm. So he's choosing Ed over Pete.
Right.
And he shoots Pete. And they get behind the bar. Ed comes behind the bar. They light fire around it, so they're blocked off. But they're like, okay, this may be the end. And so they're like, well, no, there's a cellar underneath. So they go down to the cellar, and they stay there for a little bit. And they're like, wait a minute. We're kind of cornered in. This is it.
Yeah, because they can't get out of the cellar.
They have, like, for a comedy, this is a really, like, intense conversation. They all, like, Shaun looks to Liz, and then he's like, well, Ed's bit.
So now it is out. It is out.
All right.
Okay, yes.
So they're basically having a conversation about how they would have to kill each other if they can just shoot themselves or have to shoot the other person. Dude, it's intense. Because they're trying to make light out of it. But
well, yeah, because his friend's character is like, he's like, oh, what about Nick? You know, am I gonna be able to shoot him? And then he goes, nah, it's fine. I'll just be eaten. And then like later when they're talking about shooting themselves,
mean Ed?
Yeah, well, the actor's name. But,
oh, okay.
And then later they're talking about shooting each other. He goes, actually, no, I want to be shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they're talking all like sweet and all.
Yeah.
But at the last minute, right before the horde like breaks in, Shaun finds that what he and Liz are standing on are like an elevator to outside, and so he gives the gun to Ed to either finish himself off or finish the zombies off, whatever he wants to do. And they have this like really, really heartbreaking like final moment where they're like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, but like, you know, you were always a good friend to me, and thanks for being my pal." And so they leave, and Ed, I know what happens to Ed too because it was in that bonus feature as well.
And it's also in the actual movie.
Well, yeah, but how Shaun found him.
Well, they were together.
He didn't get eaten by zombies, is what I'm saying. Ed
Yeah,
didn't get
we
eaten.
see that.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, so Shaun and Liz get found by the military, and so it jumps to 6 months afterwards where the world is kind of the way it used to be. Now they're just using the zombies as free community service labor and like, you know, gags on television. And
It's pretty smart.
yeah, so everything is the same except now he's living with Liz. And they're kind of doing the same thing that Shaun was doing at the beginning, just kind of, you know, living, kind of wasting the day away, but they're happy together. So, the end. Oh, also, Ed is in the garden shed, and he keeps a hold of zombie Ed and plays video games with him in the shed.
Yep.
The end.
The end. All right, ready to cut? Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome back, all you...
Go ahead.
So, what do you guys think this movie's about? Kyle, I know you have something philosophical. I'm going to go to you first, Chris.
What the fuck, dude?
What?
All right. Well,
I meant like just like kind of like
it's
all
about the
way out.
loss of love and the sacrifices you make to regain love.
Okay.
Mhm.
I would say it's the transition from a passive life into an active one.
Yeah, yeah. And I would build off of that, off of what you said, and say I think it's about how you can't have
Your
a
cake
life.
and eat it too.
You can't have a life
Your
full
zombie
of
and
order.
Adam too.
You need chaos in your life. You can't live in just one of those spheres. And I think this movie is about finding the balance of life between ultimate order and unprecedented chaos. Don't ever try to take my words from me, because I will always swap them.
I pity the humans. They view order and chaos.
I don't want to
as
have this
somehow
argument
opposites.
again because it's the stupidest quote. Sounds like love.
No, this sounds like love. Oh my God.
Notice
How fast
Chris's
Chris
partner did not make any noises.
Yeah,
'Cause
just
that
Chris.
That was all.
That
Chris.
was all me.
No, but I think both of you are right. I would say.
I'm sorry,
that,
it wasn't philosophical.
Well, what I meant by that was
Shut the
like.
fuck up. Just continue.
What I meant by that was that Kyle's gonna say some like shit that like no one gives a about.
Okay.
Yeah, I just talk about fundamental meanings of life.
Yeah.
No one cares about that.
I value your input,
No,
Kyle.
you don't. Nobody did because they didn't see their documentary.
No, dude. Hey, we have a documentary out
School
called
Night
Why
Studio.
Live. Check it out. It's pretty good. Kyle did it. It's our first one.
It's on the School Night
He
Studio
wrote it.
page.
School Night Studios page. It looks pretty cool. It sounds pretty cool.
Check it out.
Check
Link
it
in
out.
the description.
Link in the description. Chris was there too. Anyway, so yeah, I think yeah.
I do want to talk kind of briefly about the history of zombies, because I did some like, I pulled up the History Channel page and because I was just curious, because I meant to do this for Twilight and vampires.
Let me ask you this: do you think zombies IRL is possible?
Well, it depends on what type of zombie you're talking about.
I was about to say something real
The zombies that
dramatic
eat your
about
brains.
that.
The zombie that eats your brains. I mean, because there have been recorded cases of people who have been pronounced dead and who have come back to life.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean like dead, like their brains turned off, except their motor function is in the desire to eat human flesh.
I mean, I suppose it's possible, because it's like with frogs, how you can put salt on like frog legs and they'll start moving because there's still that energy that's built up in there. So
did not know that.
if you're able to take a dead body and somehow stimulate the motor nerves, and this would be shortly after death, obviously, then yeah, I suppose theoretically it's possible for that. But
I'm pretty sure you can make cyborg out of like dead bodies.
Cyborg, like the character?
No, cyborgs out of.
Oh, you mean what Frankenstein did?
Yeah, but
possibly,
it's just
but you'd have to
cyborgs.
reanimate a sort of heart because you need
Yeah.
blood flow. Like, and that's the part that I never understood about zombie stuff, is because, okay, if the zombie apocalypse really happened, the best place you need to go is somewhere hot and humid, because then the zombies would only exist for maximum of 2-3 weeks.
Really?
Because they would deteriorate. Because bodies in hot and humid areas, like, they deteriorate, and zombies do not have blood flow going through them. They're not alive, and so you would just wait it out. And those 2-3 weeks would be rough, but that's all you need to do. That or the extreme cold is for the same reason. And it's like the stupid, like, zombies are not a threat. They're just not.
No, and that's why I was saying, like, I think this is the most accurate representation of a response to a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the military
It's not the
in
most
a day.
exciting.
No,
Like,
but the
literally,
military in
it's
a
the day, yeah, and then you're done. Yeah. Because, again, it's like, the thing that's terrifying about zombies is just the mass number of them. And, like, you can be overwhelmed, sure. Like, it's not that
Well,
that's not a threat, but...
Even in like a blooper reel of the movie, I watch all the special features of this. I don't know why, but in a
was
blooper
going
reel,
to, but
when Shaun like gets up on the table in front of the zombies, when Simon Pegg does that for the first time, he immediately goes, "Whoa, no, fuck off!" Like he has to step down because it was scary to him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just the sheer numbers of it.
Yeah,
I mean, because you can
yeah.
be overwhelmed. there's a MythBusters episode where they saw if, like, you know how barn doors, you can put, like, that wooden beam on the barn doors? There's a MythBusters episode where they just saw if people pushing into that door could actually break it. And it was like 100 or so people just pushing into it, and they broke, like, a 2x4, like, easy. And it was probably even thicker than a 2x4. But it's like, yeah, I mean, that's overwhelming. But again, it's like, you know, you go to a hot and humid place and you wait it out 2 to 3 weeks. Like, you know, 2 months max.
That's why we should just go to space.
Well, that bus Walking Dead, too.
Oh, yeah, because it's in Atlanta, Georgia, and, like, or at least that's where it starts out. And so that would not be a threat beyond season 2. So
I do like how the zombies in Walking Dead are more, like, reminiscent of the Shaun of the Dead zombies rather than Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
But that show got stupid after season 6, so.
Well, I only saw the first season of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's about The Walking Dead?
Yeah. This is just not my thing.
Yeah.
But history of zombies. And I thought this was important because knowledge of history is knowledge of self.
And you know what else they say? Knowledge is power.
Yes. So, the fear of zombies, or like the undead rising, actually goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, right? Where there's archaeological evidence where they pinned down some skeletons for fear of reanimated corpses like coming back up. Like they pinned them down with rocks.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
Did they have any reason for thinking this?
It was just a superstitious thing. I mean, I don't know the specifics of it.
I'm sure there's some mythology connected to that.
There probably is, but the zombies, more so as we know them, actually originate from 17th century Haiti, and it was a, let's say, scary story, like a supernatural story that arose from the enslaved that were brought over into Haiti, and the zombies were supposed to represent the plight of slavery, right? Because they're just, you know, they're walking corpses essentially, which is what slaves felt that they were. Which, yeah,
this movie kind of points to that, because even before like everybody turns into zombies, they are kind of betrayed as zombies. Like even in the opening scene where it's still like showing the credits and everything, you see just a crowd of people walking down the street. They're not zombies, but they got their mouths open and all this. And even when
just going through the motions.
And that's where you get the transition from the active life,
right?
Or excuse me, passive life into.
Yeah. So from that Haitian culture, in voodoo, there are practitioners of voodoo who are called bokers or bokkers, something, Bokors. I don't know how to pronounce it. And they would combine like herbs, shells, fish, animal parts, bones, and tetrodotoxin, which is a deadly neurotoxin from like pufferfish. And if you gave that to sublethal doses to people, it would be enough to slow their heart rate enough that they could be pronounced dead, right? They could go into a coma or have paralysis, and then they would be buried, and then they would wake up, and then they would come out, and that's where you get zombie like myth from, right? And the other key thing about that is that the bokers were supposed to be able to control the zombies, right? They were their masters, which again reinforces the slavery image as well. And they're supposed to be able to control them up until like the bokers themselves died, and then the zombies would die, right? But in pop culture, the first appearance of zombies goes back as early as 1697, and they were more akin to ghosts and like spirits than anything else, but they still kind of like ate humans, that kind of thing. And their first film appearance was in 1932's White Zombie, which does it's about a guy who it's like a voodoo practitioner who falls in love with a woman, and then he essentially turns her husband into a zombie so that he can get her, right? Which is kind of interesting for the 1930s, but I guess there could also be a racist overtone with that, because the voodoo practitioner was a black guy. But the way the zombies became popular in the cultural zeitgeist. Oh, and those were part of the Universal monster movies. But they became popular in the zeitgeist in 1968's Night of the Living Dead, which is one of the more famous ones. That whole trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, then Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead, that kind of thing, or Day of the Dead, whatever. But since then, they've come to symbolize fear of the apocalypse, specifically the horrors of war that Vietnam and Korea specifically showcased, because those were the first ones that we got images of it during that. And it's the fear of our own mortality drawing us closer to the grave and spreading uncontrollably to everyone. Because it's the idea of when you remember somebody, you don't remember them as they would be in the ground, all decayed and everything. You remember them in this perfect version. Even open casket funerals, they're pumped with all these chemicals to make them look more alive and not falling apart. And I guess you could say that's partially because we don't want to see people like that, because it's terrifying, So anyways, that's the kind of the history of zombies, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I think specifically as it relates to this film, that last part we were talking about the meetings is important too. You were talking about the idea of morality or mortality as we approach it. And I think that does have to play sort of into this film. Like we were saying, Shaun, exists in a very liminal space, which for those of you who don't know that, basically it means you're not regressing and you're not progressing.
Yeah.
You are just simply existing.
He's in the middle of Pete and Ed, which are the two...
Yeah.
Right, but I don't think that Pete or Ed are liminal. Specifically not Pete, and really not Ed, because Ed is content, like you said, with his life. And so when Shaun wakes up, immediately he steps up and we hear this... and we think, oh, zombie,
Mm-hmm.
Well, even the way it's shot, it's
right.
it's panning from the feet up.
Right, but it is just Shaun.
Yeah.
And then so we see him kind of go through the motions, and then he goes on this route, the same route that he goes on seemingly every day, down to the grocer, gets something, and comes back.
The classic Edgar Wright long shot.
Right.
Style.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we see a lot of people around him seemingly doing kind of the same thing that they would also be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that next day, after they drink a lot,
Yeah.
That next day he gets up and the town is deserted. It's been destroyed. He doesn't even notice because he is just living so passively that he can't even maybe even perceive what's happening in that moment. And he goes and he gets his stuff and then comes back and then he's like, oh. And so then we get into the transition where it's the zombies. And even still throughout part of that, he's still kind of living this passive life. And I don't think it's until he gets his mom and they are in that one backyard before they get to the Winchester that he finally is like, okay, I've got to do something about this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he actually has stakes now. Not just Liz is potentially leaving his life. Everybody he knows.
Yeah, because he had just lost Philip.
Yeah.
Who had, like you said...
Dude, again, that scene was so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is, and it's rough, too.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
It almost, it almost gave me tears.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and rightfully
Chris doesn't
so.
cry at anything.
Yeah, ever.
And rightfully so, because it is... Shaun has been living this life with this stepfather figure who seemingly hasn't given him anything. And then for it to come out that he's always just been trying to be the best he could be.
Yeah.
And so then immediately to lose him.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately. Through that passivity. Is that right? Is that the right word?
He also says it's not easy being a father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Well,
Which might hint to Shaun of the Dead, too.
Yeah. Well,
This is going to be a daddy.
Daddy of the Dead.
Daddy of the Dead.
But, again, it's... I think I would disagree just a little bit with what you said. I would agree that he's in, as your favorite word to use, liminal space. Shaun specifically. But I don't think that he's not content with his life. I think he is very much content. And I think the only reason he would ever even want to make any changes because his girlfriend isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. And that's where I'm going with my meaning that I'm attributing to this, which is I don't think that someone can live in a perfectly ordered world. I think if you did, you would specifically try to make it not so. In fact, Dostoevsky has a quote about this, and I forget.
In what?
I don't remember.
Okay. 'Cause if it's Crime and Punishment, you don't have to quote that because you didn't read it all the way. Or
I
did
think
you finish
it's
it?
Notes from the Underground.
Did you finish it?
I read the first section of it.
Okay.
Like it's split into like different, I guess, acts or whatever you call it. But Dostoevsky says, shower upon him every earthly blessing, drown him in a sea of happiness so that nothing but bubbles of bliss can be seen on the surface. Give him economic prosperity such that he should have nothing else to do but sleep, eat cakes, and busy himself with the continuation of his species. And even then, out of sheer ingratitude, sheer spite, man would play you some nasty trick. Meaning, you give somebody everything where they do not have to have worries, and they will create worries. Because the plight of humankind has always been a plight of struggle.
Yeah.
It's always been a needing to move from a terrible present into an ideal future. If you get to that ideal future and that becomes your present, you're lost. You have no direction because you have to have somewhere to go.
Right.
And that's why I think this movie. That's why I think Z-Day is such a formative thing for Shaun, is because he doesn't really have anything to do, and he's fine with that. But it's breaking apart his relationships. His roommate's mad at him. His girlfriend just like leaves him. You know, like none of her friends like him. You know, he hasn't made himself into anything. He's been working the same job presumably since high school because he's got other high schoolers there who don't respect him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like he doesn't do anything. He's the definition of a loser, right? And it's this purely chaotic event that manifests something inside him that's genuine, that's something akin to genuine being, right? And that's what propels him into this leadership category.
Well, and like you said, like finally he has stakes. So finally something matters enough
that he has to.
Right. Yeah. And so this is not one-to-one, but Albert Einstein said, once you stop learning, you start dying. And I think that again, it doesn't track exactly, but I can logic it out.
Yep.
It's like once you stop progressing towards that ideal future, that potentially unachievable future, is when you start dying. You lose that responsibility that is the core meaning of life, as Kyle would put it. And so once you do that, well, essentially there's no reason to live.
Yeah, well, again, because, well, it's like and I know I've said this all the time, but it's like because you view your life in the prism of a narrative, once you reach the end of that, well, the book's over.
Right.
And it's like, so you have to keep going. And that may be why people are so infatuated with continuing like movies and shows and stuff that have already reached their narrative end, because if they end, well, then what is there to say of more of that world? Yeah. Like the world dies when the story ends. Right?
And even though it can continue in your mind,
that's a good fucking quote, by the way.
What?
The world dies when the story ends.
Is that your quote?
I just said it.
Wow, look at that.
I feel so smart. I'm so glad I read.
It's not a hate, but you know what?
I'm so glad I read.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Pacino-ween.
It's not as good as Pacino-ween. It was pretty good.
It's not as good as any of my freestylls.
Dude, true enough.
I'm
gonna take a shit.
I'm gonna take a shit. But yeah, I just think that's kind of an interesting concept in and of itself. The fact that you have to struggle, because like, and maybe this is why I'm so politically like anti-left, is because like the left side of
canceled,
canceled, whatever. But the left side of the political aisle is so hell bent on finding utopia,
right?
And I don't think, and it's like, and I believe the conservative side of it, as far as utopia is concerned, is that, and this is a lot of the times baked into the cake of like Christianity.
But utopia ain't real, bro.
Well, it's that we would never be able to find it.
Well, and if we do, we end up with truly a dystopia.
Yeah.
I mean, look at 1984. Look at the Hunger Games series. Look at the Divergent series. Look at The Giver.
Yeah.
Look at all of these. Look at Brave New World. All of these stories. Fahrenheit 451. All these stories that are supposedly in a utopia are truly dystopian because there is no ideal future. There is no progression of man anymore.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you're not progressing, then you're stagnant. When you're stagnant, you die.
Right. Well, and so that's what we see here in Shaun of the Dead is that, like, so many of these people, specifically everyone that we saw on his morning route, are now dead.
Yeah.
They are the zombies.
Yeah.
Because they have just been living this life day in, day out, over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, and that's why the analogy works so well.
Over and over and over and over. $10 if you get that.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you.
B, C, D, E, F, G. Because you kept saying A.
Yeah, Rihanna.
Zombie.
But yeah.
Oh.
So I think you're right about that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, even just the dual meaning of zombies in this movie. It's like, even when things, like, go to shit, it just goes back to where it was. Like, I mean, you know, in the end, everybody was a zombie.
But I think...
Always was.
I think at
Always
the
has
end...
been.
Always has been.
Always has been. But I think at the end it's a little bit different. Because Shaun has taken that next step. So maybe he may stagnate here.
Yeah.
But at least as far as the course of the film goes, he has made that leap.
But it's
forward.
like he's doing the same thing, just with a different person now.
And maybe that's all it needs to be. Because he's no longer stuck with his entire past. How long did you say he was working there?
Well, okay, it's like he had to destroy...
probably over a decade.
He had to destroy, like, the life that he already had to have it with somebody else, but he still hangs on to little bits of that in the shed, you know?
Right, and I think that's fine. I mean, that's like the
It's like kill Ed
it's the
from
idea
your
of a man
life.
cave.
Kill Ed from your life. Take him out whenever you need him.
Right. Well, it's the idea of a man cave, right? And it's like, because like in our society, it's like you're successful when you have a job that you're able to provide for your family, whether that's just your wife or husband, or whether that's them plus the kids, right? But you're successful when you get married, when you're living together and stuff like that. Like that's what defines success in our society, at least old-fashionedly, right? And so that's even if he's doing the same stuff, because he has gone into that next level, people would respect him more, and then there is a progression of character.
And that's what I'm saying. Is so it's no, he is living the same life, but not quite, because he has taken that next step.
Right. Well, it's like let's say like Jake and I separately got married, right?
Or we got married together.
Hey, you already married me.
Yes, I did. But let's say like we got married, but we were still doing the podcast, right? So we're still doing we're still doing the same stuff in our life, but I wouldn't say that we haven't progressed.
Imagine if we were Chris.
Yeah, imagine if we were Chris, but we started out not
Chris.
Not with because you would.
We
knew you were already
Claire.
engaged.
Yeah.
So I'm saying if this analogy is getting lost because you wouldn't shut the fuck up.
What's up?
Why would you say that?
Because he's like, well, if we got time.
You have 1 month now.
Yeah.
You have.
I mean, we're recording this the day of.
Yeah. This is live streamed.
Yeah, this is October weather. Hurricane Irma.
You can tell
Ida.
I'm
Idaho
dressed.
potatoes.
I'm dressed for October.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
Not really. This is the only thing I'm wearing. Haha.
Anyway,
Can you
your
please
analogy.
not flash our audience? I forget what it was about, but I want to talk about the difference between Simon Pegg's character and Harry Potter looking ass.
John Oliver.
Yeah, John Oliver looking bitch. Like the differences
let's cut
between
right
them.
there.
Okay.
All right, so Kyle wants to talk about John Oliver.
He's not funny. All right. Got him.
I think in Community, at least.
Well, yeah, but that's because it was written by competent people.
Hey, you gonna touch my underpit leg sweat?
Why?
Ew, that's not good.
You gross.
But yeah, I want to talk about the differences between Simon Pegg's character and that specific character. Like, what makes Simon Pegg's character noble, whereas the other one's not?
Well, I think intent, selfish versus like
Selfless.
selfless. Yeah. Well, and I think honestly, I think they both are living pretty passively. Because John Oliver is kind of like.
I like how we're just referring to him as that.
Well,
Go ahead.
John Oliver is still kind of just like he's. So it comes out that he likes Liz, or is he in love with Liz?
He's in love with her.
He's in love with Liz,
pretty much.
but he's always with her, but never does anything about that.
Yeah.
Which I think
Well,
is...
and he originally does try to, but then she kind of like pushes him out, and then he gets with the friend just so he can be with her.
Right.
Like indirectly.
But even in that strain, he's passive.
Right. No, I agree.
And so I think when he's like, I think I should be leader. If anybody says they should be the leader,
they should not
be the leader.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
100%.
So I think that
every president.
I think that enough is
literally every politician
except George Washington.
Except George Washington, specifically after his second term ended. They were like, "Yo, you want to do it?" And Padme Amidala with being queen.
Jon Snow.
I didn't watch.
That's why she's president, because
still.
she's on Amidala. Get it? Because presidents are on dollars.
Anyway. Anyway, but my point still stands.
Yeah.
And so I think that line about it, I think that proves.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree, and I think it has something to do with like almost the omission of responsibility.
Right.
And I think that's something that Shaun struggles with before the movie, but even during the movie. I got like a GroupMe notification from
No, it's Claire.
Claire.
No longer Alice.
No longer your queen. Your Queen Alice.
Queen Alice.
Queen Alice.
Let's talk about how Ed says the M word in this movie.
We're not done with that.
Wait, what?
Ed says the M word.
We're not done with
I
this.
did not know that. But yeah. So
He does.
anyways, I basically
I have something to say about that.
okay. But yeah, they kind of border like, because for one, when he gets rid of the zombie horde, right, and he comes back, and it's like, oh shit, like you did it, like you saved the day, that kind of thing, and then it's revealed that he's like, no, I didn't give them the slip, I brought them back here and just got in time, like I brought them here, like he brought about that whole downfall, right, and he lied about it,
which is like the whole reservation thing,
right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think John Oliver does kind of the same thing kind of throughout the movie, where he just kind of he's kind of just a dick about things just because
I forgot to hit record.
Are you kidding?
No, I didn't. Sorry. Got him. I'm sorry. I thought I did.
It's not funny because we've had so many goddamn fuck-ups with recording recently.
Shaun and the other guy, they differ in the fact that Shaun actually owns up to his mistakes, and the other guy just...
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's just a pansy.
He's like, you know what? I'm leaving. Okay.
I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, and it's like... And I had this quote that I think talks about this. It's pretty well worded, but it says... The omission of responsibility may seem like a positive, but the negatives are, 1, there is no adventure, only triviality, which is the point that we talked about earlier. 2, because everything is trivial, there is no heavy burden of ethical responsibility that sets you and the state straight, right? Mm-hmm. Which is essentially the point of, if everything's trivial, then there's nothing pushing you to be a moral person, to do the right thing. Yeah. For yourself or to keep, the government in check, that kind of thing. And then 3, in order to keep some semblance of order, there is only a loss of freedom and ability to act in any capacity. Right? So again, it's the idea of the more order that you live in, the less free you are. And freedom is chaos, right? Inherently, it has to be.
Sorry. That was a dragon.
Because freedom can't bring about order. It just can't. But
well, you are human.
All right. Continue.
Hold on.
no, that was basically it. I just wanted to bring that.
So upon what you're saying, the moment that John Oliver resigns himself to staying in the past, to not owning up to his mistakes, he gets eaten.
Yeah.
And he dies.
Yep.
Because he fully commits to that resignation, that digression.
Yeah, because the whole time it's like he could have gone either way. He almost did, right? But I think
as soon as he pulled that trigger, that was it.
Yeah, he was dead.
Yeah.
He was a dead man walking. But which is what all the zombies are. But what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to
Yeah, Nick Frost says the N-word.
Yeah.
When? Like I don't
when he pulls up
can't
in
understand
the car,
a fucking British person.
When he pulls up in the car when they're leaving like the
house.
The house.
Yeah, the
what's
parents'
his house? He says, "What's up?" And he says the N-word.
Because he's like, "Where's the car?" He's like, Simon Pegg's like, "Where's the car at?"
And then he's like,
up and
he's like, "What's up?"
Damn, I do not remember that.
And when Jared and I watched this, we watched it on like TV. They did not bleep that out.
Well, they're British,
which is crazy.
Yeah, they're British, so it's okay.
No, it was I forgot what channel it was.
BBC probably.
Might have been BBC America. But they didn't bleep that out.
Ironic, is it?
but
Get it?
Yes.
I watched it again on the DVD, and like Jared thought he said dickhead, but I'm like, no, he said the N-word, and so I put on the subtitles when I watched it on the DVD. Yeah, he said it.
Wow.
And then I looked at the bonus features, and there were like outtakes that they had, and one of them was just that scene, and it was him. Instead of saying that, he said, "What's up, cunts?" And I watched that, and then am I allowed to say that?
I don't care.
Okay. Well, anyway,
we'll
I put on the commentary.
We're quoting. It's a reference, so it doesn't count.
You should have prefaced it.
I put on the okay. It was bad. I put on the comment. Oh my god! I put on the commentary, and then Edgar Wright says, "Yeah, we chose the other take because we felt like saying cunts would give us like a bad rating," and I'm like. So the alternative was.
Hey, look at all I'm saying is look at Tarantino movies.
Britain is wild.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I'm so glad we got rid of that.
Cancelled.
I mean, it was 2000.
Britain's a better country than we are.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a nose ring.
Okay.
This whole like past 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So have to cut it.
But yeah, no, I really like this movie a lot.
Oh yeah,
it's an Edgar Wright movie, so I like it.
It's a what Wright movie?
Edgar?
Oh, okay. I thought you were being Ed for a second.
Jesus Christ.
What's interesting, I think, is that... So what's really interesting is that this all happens tomorrow. And what I mean by that is that we were set open in this day, right? And there are things that keep happening to Shaun that are going to happen tomorrow, right? We'll get the reservation... Well, I guess that's tonight.
Yeah.
But you're going to come over to see us, right? Tomorrow. And kind of everything, it kind of revolves somewhat around that. So, like, part of the reason they break up, Liz and Shaun break up, like, oh, I've never met your parents, you know? And then his parents, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm talking about. You watch this movie. Anyway. But everything happens tomorrow. And before tomorrow happens, his world comes crashing down. And at the same time is when the zombies appear and tomorrow happens.
I'm pretty sure everything that they talked about happened that day.
No.
Yeah.
Well, like, I also want to say that the zombie...
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The first day,
yeah,
and then everything is tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like it was going to happen.
No. The first day that we see...
I got you.
Everything happens in the film tomorrow.
Ed gives like a little like monologue, and he's like, we're going to do this and this and this, and then we'll end up shots at the bar. Like that whole bit, that describes beat for beat what happens in the story. Like... scene by scene, yeah. Like he goes through it. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but I remember reading that somewhere. So
I'm going to preface this next point.
Oh God.
So my thing is that a zombie apocalypse happened, and within 6 months, everything went back to normal, which proves
Well,
No, I know what you're gonna say.
that,
Go for it.
that COVID is
Yeah.
not a threat. All right, let's continue.
All right.
I prefaced it.
Ready or not scale?
Anyway, I think, is that the line you were talking about that you really want to talk about?
No, the line I was wanting to talk about was Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes. I asked you if that was the line. You went, no.
If the Ed line was the
Yeah.
line, yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
you went, I went, is that the line? You went, no.
I thought you were
no,
talking
no.
about me doing the whole fucking COVID joke.
No.
That was a joke, by the way. That was a joke.
Well,
the COVID thing.
Anyway.
Don't cancel me, please.
Anyway.
Ready or not scale.
There's a line that Simon Pegg has, and it takes place a longer period. It's paraphrased, but he says, "I can change, I promise." And this is when Liz is breaking up with him. He goes, "I can change, I promise," and he throws out the pack of cigarettes, which later come up, by the way.
Yeah, because it turns out she hasn't really changed completely either.
But he says, "I can change, I
Right.
promise."
Fucking women.
But
I wish
Joke.
I
That was a
could.
joke.
I
That was a
wish I
joke.
could. Yes.
he says, "I can change, I promise." Throws out the pack of cigarettes. But the reason why this is so important is because this is a theme that's probably been running for a long time, and he never does. He never changes.
Simon Pegg.
Right. Until, the zombie apocalypse happens.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was going to say, I was like, well, you just disagreed with everything we just said, but I got you.
Now we're going to the ready or not scale.
Yep.
Which,
It's got to be 5 out of 5.
why?
Really?
We see lots of explosions, a lot of heads.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
Well, again, we disagree on what an explosion is. An explosion, I would believe, is a bullet going through someone's head and seeing their insides come
That is
out.
not an explosion.
That's
is
not an
that is
explosion.
not an
I don't
explosion.
Look up the
agree with
definition
that.
of explosion.
It's
right
a
now.
combustion, maybe.
No, combustion involves fire. Explosion does not involve fire. Explosion is the rapidly expansion of outward forces. Look it up.
It's not an explosion. Tell you what. Shaggy Goose Egg Boys, send us a little email over at pacinopodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, please do.
Let us know.
I feel like we're nearing the end. We're nearing Kyle's resignation of this show.
No, yeah, please do. Yeah. Go ahead. Go right ahead. 5 out of 5. Recap time.
We already did the recap.
Recap wrap.
You know what?
Wrap
I'll
up
give
time.
I'll give it a 0. That way it averages out to 3. So fuck you.
Okay.
Try that on for your britches next time,
I'm
bitch.
gonna try your britches on, bitch.
They're not gonna fit, right? Hold on. Send us what you think an explosion is over at pacinopodcast@gmail.com. And hey, fuck you all for not tweeting at us.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, that's a good thing to tell our audience.
Pacinopod on Twitter.
Dude, that's the thing
Fuck
about
you.
Tobey Maguire in any serious role is
You hear that? That's what I'm gonna do to you.
whenever he gets angry and he screams, his voice cracks so much and it's hilarious.
Fuck you!
Well, because Brothers is a great movie, and there's a really emotional scene where he's yelling and wrecking shit.
But he sounds like this every time he yells!
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
No.
Yeah, he does.
There's your beat, Chris.
Yeah, you're right. I am nearing my resignation of the show.
I love you, Kyle.
I don't know if I'll make it to Christmas.
Why do you say that?
Oh, many reasons. You're annoying as fuck.
What about me?
See, Kyle doesn't have any practical skills, so he makes up with it in intelligence, maybe. So,
I'm just here.
Fair enough.
he makes it up with philosophy.
Yeah, which is not a practical
It's
skill.
not a practical skill. Basically, philosophy doesn't matter, is what I'm saying.
You could make an argument for such.
Shaun of the Dead, his shirt is red. He has to bite off the head of his dead friend. His friend's name is Ed. He's the breadwinner. No, he's not. He doesn't go in, make dinner because he doesn't have a job, but he's got corn on the cob because he's fat. He makes brats worse. He makes everything worse because he ruins his life, and then his girlfriend Liz goes away. Shit, I didn't plan for this today. What?
That
Shaun.
was fucking weak.
I'm gonna take a shit.
I'm gonna take a shit.
I'm gonna take a shit.
Ugh.
Wait, Kyle, you actually gonna resign?
That was such a bad rap.
Kyle, you actually gonna resign?
Tune in next week for The Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead.
Oh,
2.
Stout and Saurkraut.
Stout and
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut.
I knew there was something that we were
Stout and
forgetting.
Sauerkraut. I want to redo that rap.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Oh wait, are you still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean,
Zombie. Hey, do you think if I lick your elbow, you'll be immortal?